Reymerian Chapter. On plain Stygio, humans are mere infants, fledgling organic life adapting towards its environs, and inevitably sprouting into all creatures and things, began serving as energy sources for invisible parasitic life, perhaps towards time's very dawn. Reymerians, ultimately, are parasites. Reymerians begin as blood within certain animals turning on their hosts, starting with abnormal behaviors they may not recognize, hydrating excessively, fondness for dark places, though in time this begins manifesting in more recognizable ways. Pain from mere exposure to light, a need to starve, to die without harming bodily organs. Upon death, this contagion in the blood begins to hijack and restart vital systems. It utilizes the host's brains, despite having something of a consciousness by itself. In an infected host, every molecule in the blood is dominated by what would one day be known as Reymerian plague. Reymerian plague has no cure save one, and all it takes for its onset is a few infected blood droplets. Its end result is always death in the host, and puppeteering of their body by its now sentient blood. Reymerian blood functions something like a collective whole, each building block communicating with the next in close proximity to form one's consciousness, actions, and thoughts. Reymerian bodies can regrow limbs, organs, even vital parts such as a brain. Their sole weakness is the heart, which can be kept pumping by Reymerian blood itself with enough training. Training which nearly all Reymerian youth receive, though if it is ruptured beyond repair, the blood within a Reymerian will quickly be deprived of what it needs in order to function, and the being will die. It is worth noting the brain in particular allows for memory storage. If it is destroyed, Reymerian blood will only be able to act on base instinctual urges until repairs to their host's brain are made. If not possible, a Reymerian will seek another host instinctively, preferably a human. This is done typically through a bite, and has earned these folk the name vampires. The parasite can possess anything from squirrels to worms. So long as it has a heart, it will function. Reymerians' prime hosts have always been humans, who are prey to them until banding together into their 9 nations. Reymerians' solitary weakness is their scarcity, particularly how long it takes for them to learn. While many fledgling Reymerians could only exist at a given point, potentially eclipsing humans, their levels of natural intelligence were extremely low, and gaining knowledge often took around a decade for even language to be committed. Despite being overall superior to the average human, mankind endured almost through extinction and cast the Reymerians out of their own lands into a nomadic and often seafaring lifestyle within the Moonsilver Isles. Reymerian civilization. Counting among the oldest civilizations across Stygio, Reymerians took their place immediately as warlike beings with hunger for bloodshed and glory. With their exceedingly long lives and comparative rarity in terms of intelligence, Reymerian society has always existed as an extremely hierarchical one. At one point, certain castes were divided based on how many years a Reymerian existed, every 50 years qualifying one for climbing their rigid social ladder. Piety towards elders has always been encouraged, with fledglings oftentimes being sent to procure food or undertake more dangerous tasks for their seniors. This is despite seniors almost always being more capable. Through time, this began developing into what would resemble familial bonds, though Reymerians will refer to these as clans or broods among the most venerable. Broods and clans often exist using a layering structure, beginning with youngest on bottom and escalating towards eldest. Considering the near limitless life cycle of Reymerians, some more conservative broods will host duels in order to determine foremost positions. Generally, though, in Reymerian society, life is very highly valued. Killing fellow Reymerians, even in self-defense, will result in a trial weighing evidence. Beyond any imaginable crime, murder is always the most egregious. This does, notably, not take effect for killing human beings. This act is seen above what killing animals is for humans, but not considerably more so. Clans are honor-bound in their strictest sense, though there are outliers who exist as lone wolves, wandering mercenaries for hire, outlaws, criminals. Clans owe their allegiance to royal blood and their crown, and while it is in nature for most Reymerians to stay with their own until death, others may break the mold and venture out as one. Royal blood. As humans and their empire grew, so too did Reymerian royalty. Descended from blood considered holy, the first blood, which is supposedly the first Reymerian parasite to exist, Reymerian nobility abides by strict conduct codes and sanctions. Their rule is absolute, and followed at the penalty of death. Even rogue Reymerians, or those off-world, must heed royal summons or have bounties placed on their heads. Reymerians hold one continent, dwarfed in size by the human Myralands, past Moonsilver Isles. The first city lies past its choking mists, seat to the throne amongst its eons-old stone and opulent courtyards, tranquil gardens molding into its cyclopean architecture. An immense arena also lies here, where duels are held to determine warlike nobility and service to the royal family. These often do not end in death, though in these duels are the few occasions where decidedly accidental death of fellow Reymerians is not punished.